Welcome to Season 4 of AIHA's podcast series, The Healthier Workplaces Show, where we explore timely and informative topics about occupational and environmental health and safety to help you improve your workplace. I'm your host, Alejandro Castillo. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with members of the AIHA's Board of Directors, Director at Large, John R. Moore III, and Treasurer, Lucinette Alvarado Rivera. John has been an AIHA member since 2002, served on the AIHA's COVID-19 ad hoc project team in 2022, and on the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's COVID-19 response team. He also serves on AIHA's Ergonomics Committee, Minority Special Interest Group, Exposure Assessment Strategies Committee, and Indoor Environmental Quality Committee. John is president of Control EHS and is an adjunct instructor of industrial hygiene at Indiana University in Atlanta, Georgia. Lucinette has been an AIHA member since 2007, served on the board since 2019 as director at large for 4 years, treasurer-elect during the years 2023 to 2024, and currently treasurer. As a director, she was the board liaison for AIHA's Yellow Color Council, which included the Minority Special Interest Group and the International Affairs Committee. Lucinette is an active member of the Pittsburgh local section. At the heart of Lucinette's work is a profound goal: to change the world one IH assessment at a time. This ambition drives her to continuously push the boundaries of what is possible in OHS, striving for safer work environments and healthier outcomes for workers across the globe. Today, we're here to talk about what the FAIR framework is, what AIHA's approach to it will be, and how this new program will be beneficial to occupational and environmental health and safety professionals moving forward. John, Lucinette, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Alejandro and John.
How are you doing, John?
Doing well.
That's great to hear. All right, let's start with the first question. Let's break down the FAIR acronym. What does each letter stand for?
Okay, so FAIR stands for fairness, access, inclusion, and representation.
That's perfect. And how does this differ? How does the FAIR framework differ from the DEI framework?
Okay, so just let's go back to where FAIR comes from because it is just a new acronym. And then it was like, wait a minute, DEI, now FAIR. So it's just let's see where does it come from. So FAIR comes from this article from the Harvard Business Review, and the author, I don't want to say Lily Zhang. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. So she wrote this article, and it's pretty much like proposing this new acronym because unfortunately DEI it was a good initiative, but over time it got a little bit misunderstood, if that makes sense. Because DEI ended up being like try to meet a quota of some sort. Right? It's like, okay, I have this organization or workplace, so I need to hire or have certain specific groups, ethnicities, sex, etc. on my organization or my company. So unfortunately, it got into that route. That's why people are a little bit hesitant, especially big companies, to use the term DEI. So now with this FAIR, it opens up a little bit more about what is that sense of belonging and understanding. It's just focusing on going a little bit further of that importance of representation, and also at all the levels of organizations, not only just a specific group, right? It covers everyone, and hopefully it could create like a workplace where everyone has a fair chance of thriving, right? And then regardless of their background, identity, where they come from, etc. So I really like this 4-letter acronym.
Yeah,
That's
just
perfect.
to
Go ahead.
continue on what you're saying is that I think that it does give you the opportunity to own it. And we're very responsive in that nature of allowing people to, be themselves in a way that, it presents a positive and supportive environment. So FAIR, it sounds more personalized than DEI, to be honest with you.
I like that answer. So you mentioned the idea of creating a culture of belonging. What are the first steps that AIHA is implementing to encourage that?
One word, understanding. I think that as scientists, we have an approach of what we call, I say rec, somebody would say AREC, but recognizing, evaluating, and then controlling. But the recognition of what we're doing is recognizing that we're all different. And especially in the workplace where we have so many diverse personalities and people come together, and we want to make sure we're protecting them. So we have to understand them to a level of where we can actually do that effectively. And we talked about giving personal accounts, where this has been something that we've seen for me, it's been about 27 years working throughout different industries, and it's different everywhere I go. So now, never having the mindset that I know it, being able to open my mind and my eyes to what is in front of me allows me to understand the issues, because we could go into several examples of where we've been either personally affected or seen something that has affected somebody. So I think understanding is really grasping what is changing around us. And if you look at what was happening 30 years ago, it's changed. Technology is infused. We have a different generation here, and we have to take the time to understand what their issues are, what they feel is a point where we need to come in and do our jobs, but to definitely have understanding of what impacts them. Again, we talk about going back to 40 years ago, 50 years ago, is that this is something that we continue to see. So our strategy is around the framework of fair, because we want to understand what it is to everybody that we're serving. And now we're talking about it on a more international section, where it's not just in the United States, is our impact is worldwide, and we have to have that understanding of what another culture may be affected with. So we continue to have these conversations. It's always eye-opening, because we bring the people in there, as we would like to call the stakeholders, to ask them, what is it that you are needing from us? Our mission is ever changing, but the strategy is to support everybody. And we talked about this previously, where, we are here to protect everyone. So we don't really care about your race, your creed, your sex, your sexual identity, is that we're still here to protect you. So we have to understand.
Yeah, and within AIHA, I mean, John already summarized the history. First steps, we've been doing it for decades, right? And but the whole history that we have, and now currently, we still have the volunteer groups. Now we expanded the technicality of those volunteer groups, right? It's not only like the ionizing radiation or noise or whatever. Now we have the Pride VGs, and also we have Minority SIG, which they have been for many, many years, as John was saying. So we are working on it. AIHA is working on that sense of belonging for many, many years. It's right now that we are like embracing it more, just because society is changing. I mean, it's always been changing, but now we have to like embrace it a little bit more, just to capture what all the gaps that we may left behind.
Absolutely. So let's say an AHA member right now is listening to the podcast, and they're interested in knowing what they can do to kind of foster this kind of, or this idea. What can they do?
All right, so belonging, it's like the essential for thriving professional organizations like AIHA. So for the members, the first thing that you need to do is get involved. I know, work, we have a lot of busy lives with work and personal things or whatever, but it's just a matter of getting involved. Even if you start, baby steps on it, right? That way you can communicate, you can network, you can learn, and also just look at the whole membership, the whole organization. I mean, it's nice to see what it entails and what they offer and all that, all the good stuff, so to speak. And just have that genuine appreciation, and then expertise, as John was saying, like accepting everybody for whom they are. So it's just getting involved.
Yeah, my personal story goes back to when I was a student at University of Cincinnati, and it coincided with the formation of the Minority Special Interest Group in 2000. And it was very important for me to see people that looked like me, that identified with me, to understand what my path may be. I took those people on as mentors, and that's what we're really based upon, is passing the torch. I can remember where Lucinette was bringing over students from the University of Puerto Rico,
Mhm.
and they were attending the conference. And, it's just a great thing when we all come together. I think that we agree that the word connect for AIHA Connect is what we intend to do. And we've been very successful in that realm of bringing people together to understand the differences and have the conversations. It's not always a formal conversation. I go back to my time when I was a student, is that a lot of times I'm sitting there talking to someone, they're giving me advice that's helped me throughout my career. And now it's me in that position to foster those same relationships as a mentor and pass that torch. And like I said before, I think that everyone that's on our board has an understanding, and we all are in connection with our members. And as long as we keep that connection, we'll continue to thrive as an association.
I 100% agree with that. That's beautifully said. We mentioned volunteer groups. Let's talk a little bit more about the mentor program. How can AIHA's mentor program play a key role in this? How does it benefit the mentor and the mentee?
Without question, I've been mentoring for several years, and it keeps me young. Um, it it's like a story, and you're watching the beginning. A lot of times you identify for those people who are in the same situation you were in years ago, and you'll watch them progress. Um, it's one of those things where I tell mentees that you have to drive the relationship. You should be reaching out to your mentor. You should be asking questions. And here's where it goes a little left, where I'm challenged with the fact that the generation coming behind us is not always asking the right questions. When you feel that the people who you should be connected to and you want to have a responsibility to them are feeling entitled, then that's where you have a disconnect. So transparency, good communication, being able to adjust, because when we look at struggles, and I've seen a lot of struggles in my career, and I've seen people overcome those struggles. And that's the part of the story that I love to see, where, folks are actually able to accomplish a lot of things. I sat down with some gentlemen just recently, and we talked about struggles in our careers, and there was a certain support system. And AIHA is connected to the support system. And it has been for me for like the past 25 years. And I say that sincerely because I look at the people who have actually come through AIHA, how they've given me their time, how they've given me expertise in what now I'm doing. And it's meant a lot to me. I think that personal value that we have as an association, it allows us to thrive. And when it comes to understanding different people and being able to support them in their endeavors, is that we're here for the common goal of protecting people, protecting employees, protecting the public. And I think we do a great job of it. And as Lucinette was saying earlier, we're scientists. It has to make sense to us. There's a process here. And I think that we try to give that same advice that was given to us in that process. I can think about Dr. Lucas, one of your mentors, Lucinette.
Yes.
And he was very much impactful in what you're doing now. And then I see a lot of you and him as you are a leader in our association. So I think that it's there. And I would tell anybody who's coming into this profession that you have to be in a position to listen, to understand, and to be patient, but also that you have a responsibility to be the best that you can be. And that's what this association is about.
Yes, and John mentioned my mentor. I was gonna say that I went through that program way back in the day, in my beginnings of my career, when I was a member of the MSIG volunteer group. And it was many years. He was fantastic, and he taught me so many things about not only the professional life and technicalities of things, but also like how to be human within the profession. I remember I was struggling to get past the CIH exam. So he really, really helped me. Like he was cheering on me all the time because it gets a little bit frustrating when you don't pass it
Of
the
course.
first time or whatever. So he was there. He was supportive all the time and reaching out. So I'm very, very thankful for those the mentorships programs within the organization. And just to open it a little bit more, like within AIHA, we have the mentorship program, but and John mentioned a little bit of this, but we're mentors anywhere we go, in our work areas and or personal lives. We are mentors. At times in my, because I think in my head, I'm like, wait, I'm mentoring someone. Like you don't, at times you don't like see it until like you kind of like analyze it as a scientist, right?
Hmm.
And say, oh, wait, I am mentoring this person, and then you can see how that person is flourishing, and you say, oh my gosh, I made a difference in someone. So I don't know, it just makes you feel good.
Yeah, well stated. Again, I think that for all our volunteer groups, we've had the conversations about a pipeline, and the association has made certain strategies to make sure that we are available to the pipeline. Our student associations, local sections that we have, our board liaisons, everyone is available to have conversations with people who are interested in industrial hygiene, occupational safety and health, environmental, or the association. So I think that having access to our leaders is another positive point of what AIHA is about. Because again, we have an understanding of what the succession plan should look like. And it's not going to be a successful plan if we don't have those coming behind us and we give them the same support and skill set that we had when we were coming up. As far as the mentors, is that we still need more mentors. We need people to be there. The connection piece is what we're always challenged with. I think that this has been something that we've always kind of come up against as far as having a lot of information, a lot of people that can provide mentoring opportunities. But we see it. We see it in internships. We see it in the progression when they do come into the association. A lot of them are still new to their career. On one of the calls I was on for toxicology, and I was talking to some of the members there, and we were talking about how the presentations from the students when we see at the conference and how inspiring that is. And we were saying we need to get these same students into this particular volunteer group because they would have impact. So again, we're working on strategies. It's always something that we're faced with, but I think that we're doing pretty good as an association thus far.
Yeah, and from a mentee standpoint, it depends on the person, right? But especially for the young career professionals, I guess at this point in time, they feel a little bit scared about it, for some reason. So it's a matter of keep talking about the program and trying to motivate the young career professionals to be involved in this type of mentor-mentee relationship because it will benefit them. So it again, it's just a matter of keep talking, like John was saying, approaching the students, the young career professionals, and talking about the opportunities, the website, and everything is there. So it's a matter of like pointing them out into the specific things like, hey, we have a mentor-mentee program and
Hmm.
that will help you and all that good stuff. So yes, that I think that will create the excitement and interest for these people to be mentees. And also, you don't have to be a young career professional. Like you could be a mid-career, a senior career. I mean, it will be nice to have like a mentor of a young career professional and a mentee being a senior, so that you know what I mean, like they can share perspectives. Because at times we just focus on, okay, uh, the mentor will be like, I don't know, 15 or more years of experience in the field, whatever, and then the mentee could be a student or a young career professional. But how about the other way around? See what happens, right? You could learn either way.
Yeah, Lucinette has definitely been consistent in her work with the University of Puerto Rico. And I believe that Larry and you made a trip over there.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. So it's probably, and Larry Sloan, the CEO for AIHA, has done a lot of work attending student local sections, getting out to now HBCUs, historically Black colleges, and just promoting the profession. And we've been there hand in hand with him in doing so. So I think, again, it's coming together. It's a challenge that we're faced with. But that goes back to the first thing we talked about, is having an understanding, what are the students needing and looking for. And I believe that the association offers a lot of support in that area.
And of course, creating a culture of belonging, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
So now that we understand the importance of creating a culture of belonging, how about a culture where everyone thrives? What does a thriving culture look like exactly?
Well, it's about feeling like a genuine sense of connection and also identification within the group or community, in this case, within AIHA and also the peers and the members and whatnot. So it's just also value the expertises, having a voice, also like just speak up, right, in your different perspectives. That way we can continue that momentum and just thrive in that culture of belonging. And also, with that being said, it will foster that stronger sense of community within AIHA. And with that, it will be a stronger connections over time, and then which can lead to like better collaborations and mentorship opportunities and even a more supportive environment for our professional growth.
How can AIJ cultivate this kind of environment? Are there any personal experiences you guys can share with us?
All right, so and AIHA already has been doing this, but I think it was like continuing the seeking of feedback, by polls, surveys, that if for a specific topic that AIHA sends out, please answer them. That will help us a lot. And also like offering the diverse educational and networking opportunities, like the webinars and the conferences, and then promote that cross committee collaboration, which is happening currently. The volunteer groups collaborate within each other and the different projects that AIHA has, the open calls or specific projects that they develop, and then recognizing those initiatives too. And the contributions, the name awards and the VG's awards. And it's just the goal overall is fostering a culture of continuous improvement, not only professionally, but also personally. And I say this because back in the day, I was, a newbie, so to speak, in industrial hygiene. I'm from Puerto Rico, born and raised, and I moved from the island to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, just to foresee bigger opportunities because things were and are challenging in the island, unfortunately. So I always reach out for the skies. And I remember back in the day, one of the conferences, AIHCE at the time, I was like, hey, there's a minority special interest group. Let me check it out. And I was there for 6 years. And then I started like getting known within that volunteer group, and I was the director of communications for many, many years. So it was a good experience, and I had a lot of support within the group, the members of that VG. And then I was like, okay, I want to go further. So I remember I got a call from a past president saying, "Hey, you want to put your hat on a director's position for the board?" I'm like, "Oh my goodness!" So I did, and I got support from close colleagues at the time. And when I saw the candidates, and this is very, very humble here, like I thought I was not gonna get a chance because I was like, okay, a Latina woman, and then I saw the candidates, the six, I mean the five candidates. I'm like, there's no way. Like these people have more expertise and more probably they well known within the organization. And I was like, okay, I mean, what the worst that can happen, right? And I remember I was in China when I received the notification that I got elected as a director. I was thrilled. I was like, I couldn't believe it. And long story short, me being in the board for some years now, I've learned so much. And this environment, the kind of environment that we have, I feel accepted. Like I don't get judged for who I am. Being colorful and also a scientist because my brain works two ways. So I feel so honored to be here, part of the board, part of the organization, and I just want to set an example for people that's similar to me that they may come from different countries or maybe they're very shy and stuff like that, like to just explore opportunities. I always say this to people, like especially young people, like the opportunity is there. You have two choices. You either go for it or not. But
Mm-hmm.
then if you don't go for it, then don't regret it.
Of
So
course.
that's yeah, I'm trying to teach people that, just thrive for that opportunity because it could get you everywhere. So yeah, and I hopefully I'll stay for longer too in the board. So yeah, I'm very, very happy, very, very honored.
That's a beautiful story, and I think when I hear your story, I just think of my Latino parents just saying like "si se puede," like like just the
Si se puede.
motivation,
Yes.
like I think that's a really nice story. And while you were telling your story, even though I already know the outcome, I was like rooting for you. I'm like, come on, hope that you get the call. Like it's a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
And she actually did a great job when she was a local section president for the Pittsburgh local
Mhm.
section. Yeah. So, and that's what I'm saying. Those stories that you see at Lucinette, and we're on the same board, and then we go on, we have success in our careers, and then we come back and we help the association. And as I tell people, volunteering it's a job in itself,
Hmm.
especially on this board, is there's a lot to do, a lot to understand, a lot to learn. And she's a life learner, I can tell, because she's embraced each challenge and has been successful with it. So, you know, even internally, we see and we support each other.
Mhm.
So I know AHA Connect is coming up soon. This will actually be my first year attending, so I'm actually very excited. I wanted to ask you, can AHA Connect be an example of AHA contributing to a thriving culture?
Absolutely. Like AIHA Connect is a great example of thriving culture because it's just first it's like a family reunion. To
Mm.
me, AIHA is my second family and a bunch of uncles and cousins within the organization that I meet every year in different parts of the country. And it's just the conference itself, it just provides a platform for members to share knowledge and ask questions and update within like what's going on in your life and what's going on in your work and just facilitating that networking and collaboration across geographical boundaries because even we have international folks that also go to conference. So it's just, it's just allowing for a real time experience. And then if we have any difficulties in some, I don't know, challenge in the work area, we can like come together and tackle that problem solving and idea generation. So every year I get very excited because I can meet my second family again.
Yeah, just to add on to what she's saying is that the conference is fun. And this is where a lot of us are isolated in our jobs as we're the only EHS professional. So we don't always have the conversations. The conference is a time to come with your peers and like-minded associates and talk about the things, the challenges that she mentioned before in your career. And then it cultivates a lot of personal relationships. This may be the only time that we see each other, so we're going to get caught up, have some drinks. There are a lot of great events that take place. The fun run, we've been doing this for a long time, the fun run. And we get out there and we just fellowship. I think that even the volunteer groups get something out of it because we're on the phone and we're on these Teams calls or Zoom calls. And it's always good to just break down that technology barrier and to get back to where we are just in person. So I encourage anybody that if they're thinking about coming to the conference, just come. If you've never been, I promise you, you will have a great time. Lots of things to do, always something to learn. And it is the great part of what we do, where we're able to relax, share knowledge, and be there for one another. And you'll find that people will make friends at these conferences. They will find mentors and mentees at these conferences. So it's always something for us to have to celebrate the work that we're doing. Since 1939, we've been around, and it's been just great to watch the many generations come together and collaborate to share stories and such.
And if you're interested, the link to register is below. Okay, so let's talk about the power perspective. How does prioritizing fair values support the future of OHS?
Oh, wow, that's a great question. And I think this is a question we've talked about for a very long time. And we actually have a lot of this pointing to our strategic plan, our pipeline, and the board and the groups are definitely putting it in a perspective where we support the differences of our membership. I was telling Lucinette, there's a guy by the name of Dr. David Daniels who's put a lot of efforts into supporting psychological and psychosocial safety and health. And when we look at it like that, is that we should have an understanding of the people that we do support. Because if we're protecting them, how effective is what we're doing impacting them? For an example, if I'm coming out and I'm talking to someone about wearing hearing protection, because I've done a survey and I've done the science part, and I go back months later and they're not wearing their hearing protection, how effective was my job in getting them to wear the hearing protection? So I think you have to have an understanding of what I try to do is I try to put myself in that person's shoes. What is it going on that's going to impact them the most so I can see it from their perspective. So when we discuss things at a very technical rate, is that sometimes we need to make it into layman's terms so they can understand the value of what they're doing. So that value may be like, hey, I'm not asking you to do this for us in the company. I'm asking you to do this so that you can listen to your kids and you won't lose your hearing. So by wearing this hearing protection, you protect that. I think that we all kind of have a story like that where we appeal to the employees. And again, like Lucinette was saying, is that you got so many different people across the landscape of the US and internationally where you need to have their perspective to understand how to support them. Now, with FAIR, I think that puts it right there in your face. And this is something we've been discussing for years, many, many years, is that it's not by accident that we have Pride. It's not by accident that we have MSIG. It's not by accident that we have Women in IH. We've been advocating for employees and underrepresented cultures for a long time. And a lot of us, that's where we work at. We're in the plants, we're in the rural environments, and we're there to protect those employees. And again, it doesn't matter who they are, is that we still have a passion for doing what we're doing. So we want to know that we're being fair in our assessments, we're giving them the same opportunities, and we're providing the best support as scientists that we can to keep them safe. So I think that the initiative, because it sounds a little different now, as we discussed before, it has more of a personal ring to it. It is not just a catchphrase. It's not a catchphrase for me. When I talk to the members, not a catchphrase for them. And I think that that's the importance of where we are. And to convey that to the employees, they know that you care. We are in a position of power where we have influence over what people may actually be able to do outside of work. We talk about, the four things, chemical hazards, physical hazards, biological hazards, ergonomic hazards, is that we're protecting people on so many different planes that, taking a personal point of view makes our job a whole lot easier. And that's where I find that we have the most success when we can connect to the employees.
Yes, and by harnessing that power of diverse perspectives and prioritizing these values, the FAIR values, we're not just improving the current practices, as we always do as OHS professionals, but also we are future-proofing this profession and ensuring that it remains relevant and effective in every ever-changing work landscape, because it changes everywhere, every day. So we have to adapt to it.
So Lucinette, how does AIHA foster a culture where all perspectives are valued?
So AIHA fosters this culture where every perspective is valued, creating those opportunities for open dialogue and collaboration of all the events that they plan, webinars and conferences, etc. Also the workshops, the online forum on Catalyst. That's a great way to communicate and also see the different perspectives depending on the topic. It's a very, very valuable platform for sharing those ideas and learning from each other. Also, the committees that we have been talking about, the task forces, work groups, it's just very crucial to have that representation from diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise. And this will ensure that decisions are made with a full understanding of the potential impacts on different stakeholders. And then as we talk, mentorship also plays a key role, because it's connecting, the experienced IAHs with those who were newer in the field. And then they can help each other to cultivate that diverse perspective and ensure that the next generation of industrial hygienists or occupational environmental health and safety professionals, OHS, reflects that diversity of the workplace.
That's great. So let's recap everything, since we've talked a lot today in this episode. So we talked about creating a culture of belonging, creating a culture where everyone thrives, and exploring the power of perspective. As we approach the end of this episode, John, Lucinette, is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience?
I encourage all of us to actively seek out and value different viewpoints in our daily work and personal lives. Let's change those assumptions, listen to the voices we might not have heard before, and just collaborate across disciplines. By doing so, we're not only solving today's workplace health and safety challenges more effectively, but also be better prepared for challenges for tomorrow.
How about you, John?
Expand your viewpoints, increase your knowledge, don't limit your sight, open your eyes to new information and experiences. Anything is possible. Raise concerns in a respectful manner. Ask questions to understand. If two heads are better than one, then imagine how much more resourceful we can be when we come together for insightful conversation amongst each others, where we have differences, but we can solve problems together. This is what it looks like when we put the collective science minds and the differences together. When we talk about fair, the fairness, the access, the inclusion, and the representation, we can't lose.
That wraps up today's episode of the AIHA Healthier Workplaces show. John, Lucinette, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your thoughts on how AIHA is continuing to encourage fairness, access, inclusion, and representation in the OHS field. To learn more, visit the AIHA website and follow us on social media. Thank you for tuning in, and as always, remember that healthier workplaces means a healthier world. Until next time.
En el campo de la salud y seguridad ocupacional y ambiental, la diversidad de perspectivas es nuestra mayor fortaleza. Juntos, con nuestras diversas voces y experiencias, podemos enfrentar cualquier desafío y crear un entorno laboral mejor para todos.